Welcome to the Cauldron. We're serving up our thoughts about neurodivergent life, business ownership, and ADHD-friendly systems. Let's see what's bubbling today. Okay, so 2 days ago, we made a reel, an Instagram reel.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
I was agreeing. We did. Sorry, inflection is hard.
About rejection sensitivity. And the framing was like a what he said versus what I heard.
Yes.
That reel went viral. It's currently sitting at like 2.2 million views or something like that. And the thing about it being a reel is it's short, right? And there's not a lot of time for nuance. So there's a lot of comments that are like, phew, the point just sails right over.
Yeah, we were talking about it last night. I was like, I'm not trying to get all keyboard warrior on here, but I feel like I need to fight for my life. On a few of these, I'm like, do I need to say, like, well, hold on now. Like, she wrote these questions. Like, this is what she wanted. I
actually said that to someone. I replied that to someone today because they were like, well, why is he asking all those questions? And why is he bombarding her with questions, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, this is a script.
I didn't literally come to you with 5 back-to-back questions like, and what are your answers? I'm like, holy cow.
So I literally commented, I wrote these questions for him to say, LOL.
Lols.
Lols.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see the full scale of what this reel meant to some people and how it, I don't want to say triggered, but
yeah, I think
others.
For a lot of, we got a lot of positivity back on it too.
Yes.
A lot of like, this is me. I didn't know that other people felt like this, that kind of stuff.
One that popped out was, I knew I was ADHD or I knew I was ADHD, and I didn't realize this was part of that.
Yeah.
And that, again, is one of those things where it's like, that's really hard to see, but also can be such a clarifying or a clarity moment.
But again, not on a 25-second reel.
Oof.
Not a whole lot of room for like nuance. So I thought, why don't we do an episode on rejection sensitivity?
Yeah.
And we can do a little bit more of a deep dive. Just a little bit more of a deep dive.
Right on.
So first of all, what is it? What is rejection sensitivity? It is extreme emotional sensitivity to perceived rejection or criticism, with the key word being perceived. It doesn't have to be real rejection. It can be potential rejection.
The possibility of it.
Yeah. It's your brain reading neutral or ambiguous situations as rejection. So like the questions like, do you know where the checkbook is? It's a neutral question. Before I go digging around for the checkbook, do you know where it is?
Wondering if you've seen it around. Yeah.
And my brain is like, the house is so disorganized. It's my fault that the house is so disorganized. He thinks I'm the most disorganized person in the world. And that's not anything that you're doing. That's my first thoughts that I have. And the thing about that is you can't control the first thoughts that you have.
Yeah.
I was reading a book and it was talking about like how your initial emotional reaction to something is not something that you can control. You cannot control the emotions that you're feeling in the moments after something happens. All you can do is control your response to it, to those emotions. And then you can kind of control like what happens after that. So I call it those are my first thoughts. That's what I call it. And my first thoughts are often like very rejection sensitive.
Yeah, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the response to a neutral question can just be an immediate apology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wait, what happened? I missed something.
Right, like the checkbook question where like,
yeah.
If I am not catching that rejection sensitive response, like those first thoughts are the thing that comes out, it will absolutely be, oh, I'm sorry.
And I'll be like, it's okay. For what?
Sorry for what? So the thing about rejection sensitivity is that it's super duper common in ADHD and autistic people. There are some studies that say that 99% of people with ADHD experience rejection sensitivity, but it's also common in autism. And the research is still being done on this. So the jury is still out on a lot of it. But the thinking is that it's the years of actual rejection and criticism for neurodivergent behaviors,
Oh,
in addition to your brain just being wired differently,
sure.
that your brain learned to be hypervigilant for signs of rejection.
To protect oneself.
To protect. Yes, it's a protection mechanism.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm stuck on the 99%.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's one person in that room of 100 people that's like, oh, this sucks for you guys.
Sucks to be you.
Dang.
What it is not, what rejection sensitivity is not, is being too sensitive.
Yes.
It's not just hurt feelings. It is not the same thing as social anxiety, although they can overlap.
Okay. What does it feel like?
It's like a physical pain.
Yes.
It is like a chest hurts, squeezy sort of. It's similar to anxiety.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but it is like a physical phenomenon where you feel it in your chest. I feel it in my stomach. I feel it like in my gut. That sort of like sick feeling. Yeah, it's a physical thing.
For me, in those moments, I am racing for an outcome that I can try to get my question across and not be met with that. And it's like, the only thing I can think of is the Marvel Universe, when Doctor Strange is going through all the possible futures. And then when he finally wakes out of it, because he's got the time crystal or whatever, and they're like, do we win? Out of however many calculations, we won one time.
It can affect like your decisions and your behaviors. Rejection sensitivity itself is not a behavior. That was another thing that was a common comment on the reel. It was like, this behavior is not okay.
Yes.
And I was like, it's not a behavior. Literally was saying my thoughts out loud, like not a behavior. It can affect your behavior.
Yes.
Especially if you're not aware if you're not like aware that it's happening.
Sure.
Of course that's going to affect what you decide to do and what you decide to say. But yeah, it's like a physical thing. There's an emotional kind of flood that happens where it's like fear and shame and like sadness almost, because I just know
You're already feeling all
I'm already
the negativity.
feeling all of it.
Yeah.
And it's immediate, like
Yeah.
and it's overwhelming. And then if I do let it affect my behavior, or if I let it affect how I speak, like what I say, there's a shame spiral where I'm like, I let my rejection sensitivity get the best of me there.
And now you're sorry for that.
I'm sorry for that too.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah.
So from the other side, I will say, even going through some of the questions that you had written down and filming the reel, you could say the question so many different ways.
Yeah, we have like a lot of takes.
The same words.
The same
it's
phrase.
Still a question.
Yeah.
And I could hear just in the amount of takes that I was doing, it's like, wow, that's not how I feel. And I didn't like how that came out. And I can guarantee, and I don't know if this has necessarily anything to do with rejection sensitivity, but I'm just saying that I noticed it when doing the reel, that I can guarantee I've said something and not caught how it may have sounded in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly how it sounded for you. And I think it was just like a realization yesterday, and how difficult. I'm trying to figure out how to fix that. How to fix keeping track of how I'm saying the question and that it's coming out.
Right. And I think as the person with rejection sensitivity, I don't want that for you. I don't want you to have to like walk on eggshells or like figure out how to say something, in a certain way, because I should assume that your intent is good. Like, we are on the same side.
Sure.
And so my assumption should be, even if I do feel that initial like
he's coming for you,
that like attack almost, and if I
Yeah.
do feel like that defensiveness coming up, that my reaction to that should be, my response to that should be, okay, actually, we're on the same team. We're on the same side. He's not rejecting me. He's not judging me. He's just asking a question.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to should on yourself.
No, I know, but like that's the ideal.
That's the preferred.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Rather than you like constantly policing your own tone.
Well, I think that there's some way we can meet in the middle.
There were a lot of good comments on the reel, a lot of good suggestions that were like, one person or a couple people actually said, my partner says no wrong answer before he says the question or before she says the question, because that lets me know I'm not coming at this from a place of judgment.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer. I just want to know.
Another one that I saw was, it was like a build-up statement, much like that, where like you're explaining why you're about to ask the question before asking the question.
Yeah.
Just to have some sort of
Like some context.
preface. Yeah. So I can do that better as well. Sometimes like there's no context for me either. It's a thing that pops up and then it's already out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not until either the words are already out or days later where I'm like, oh shoot, that's why she reacted that way. And then I'll forget it on the way home. So like there's a lot working against that, but I know that I can work on providing some better context.
I think context does make a big difference. There was one commenter who mentioned that her comfort movie is Jaws, the movie Jaws.
That's interesting.
An interesting choice for a comfort movie, but we don't judge.
What a pick.
And she has like her own TV in her craft room. So she'll be in her craft room watching Jaws, and her husband will come in and he'll say, Jaws?
Immediate deflation.
She said it's like every time she watches it, he comes in and he says, Jaws?
Could I say what that brings up for me? In his perspective, like I'm coming from, I do not know these people.
Right. And well, her point was that it's starting, now that because it happens every time, it's starting to feel not neutral. Like, again, because there's no context, it's just the word Jaws.
So for me, if I saw it and I knew it was a comfort movie, there's a couple that I've seen on the telly where that would be my question, but the whole question is, did something happen made Jaws the movie right now?
Right. Right. And I think asking that whole question is important.
Yeah.
Because from what I felt it, like her, and I was reading her comment, I felt it. I was like, I can't even watch my fucking comfort movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do feel that way sometimes, like when I'm working and you ask me how much longer I have.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I'm working and I'm doing this because I'm trying so hard, and I feel like I have to be done. Like, you want me to be done. So now I need to like finish and be done.
So would a better way to ask be like, hey, I'm planning for the rest of the day or planning for dinner and beyond. How much time do you have left?
Yeah,
like, what does that look like?
Like, again, I think I know on an intellectual level that the question is neutral.
Sure.
But that is a first thought that is really difficult to respond to rationally.
Okay.
So
I guess my question is there a way to provide some context for that one? Because you bring up that one in particular, so it's also fresh. Is there a way for me to ask so I can seek to understand without derailing or having you feel a certain way?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have a solution for that one.
Because I don't want to like plan or try to put something together and then be like, hey, so it's time, because then it's like, I don't know, what goes through my head is, I'm going to plan on taking everybody out for the pub. And you're like, no, actually, after I put this together, I've got a meeting at whenever. And so this is a late night sort of thing. And I wasn't.
Maybe more of a like, what's your schedule? Rather than a, when are you going to be done? What's the schedule for the rest of the day?
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay. I'll try that.
Because when I hear, when are you going to be done? Or how much time do you have left? I'm like, oh, he wants there to be no time left. He wants me to be done. He needs me to be done.
Well, on some level I do, because I just want to spend time with you. It's like when I get the text message from you at 9 o'clock in the morning, like,
I'm like, just quit.
Hey, ready to come home? Like, well, yeah. But I know you don't, like...
No, I feel bad texting you every day. Quit your job. But I also can't stop myself from texting it to you. Every time I'm like, this isn't helpful. Of course he wants to quit his job. It isn't helpful for me to tell him to quit his job. Quit your job. Quit your job.
Yeah. I just have to, I had to take a deep breath and be like, you mean it in a good way. Like, it's for me. And a bit for us and for the family. It's not like you're upset at me for not doing it.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not upset at you for not doing it. I just really wish you were home.
Yeah, I get that.
And that is why I put up with the shit that I put up with on Facebook.
Sure.
Because someday you're going to quit your job and it's going to be because I monetized on Facebook.
On Facebook. Well, another one that I wanted to bring up that we were talking about yesterday is how interesting it was that there were comments that said the same thing, but I think for some people it meant something completely different, which is that is what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
In agreement to the bit.
Right. They were like going along with the joke.
Yes.
Where it was very much like, I don't hear a difference.
Yeah.
Haha.
But then there was, no, that is what he's saying.
Like accusatory.
Yeah. You're not hearing him wrong. That is what he's saying.
And I was like, no, babe, I
Hold
wrote
on.
those questions.
Hold on.
It's a script. It's a bit.
And I'm like, is it possible to catch strays on your own video?
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
I catch strays on my own videos all the time. It's always my glasses.
What?
I get a lot of hate for my glasses.
That's crazy.
One guy said, and it's always a man, one guy was like, I think your glasses need to be a little bit bigger because the eyes on your cheeks can't see or something like that. And I was like, wow, you might as well have pulled my pigtails and called me Four Eyes. Like,
Wow. You probably put it into ChatGPT.
how can I mock this woman for the size of her glasses? Genuinely, like, I get fewer headaches. And every time I'm like, no, first of all, I like how they look.
Yes.
I think they're cute.
They're great.
And also they're functional because I have more area,
Yeah.
which means that I get fewer headaches.
Yeah, you don't have to look through. You're just being able to look.
I can look anywhere.
Yeah,
And
they're functional.
They're very functional. But yeah, I get a lot of at least one comment on every video that gets any traction.
Yeah.
I've gotten a few on this one that went viral.
Brutal.
And I'm like, at this point, like the first few times it kind of stung a little bit. And this is a funny thing about rejection sensitivity with me.
Okay.
The comments. I was really afraid when I first really committed to doing content creation that I wasn't thick-skinned enough, and that because of my rejection sensitivity, negative comments would really bother me.
Sure.
And I have found that to not be the case for the most part.
Okay.
Like the first couple times someone said something about my glasses, I was like, ouch. And now I'm like, please find something else. Please find anything else to mock me for. I'm so bored with this.
Try again.
And also, I get a lot of comparisons to Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale, but specifically her character in The Handmaid's Tale. I don't get, Elizabeth Moss as much as I get June Osborne. And I'm like, okay, but that is the role in which she looks the most tired and haggard and scared. Are we sure about that?
Why are you making this comparison? What were you going for?
Is this a compliment or
Yeah.
is this
What's happening here?
ooh?
That is what he's saying.
That is what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
Dumb bitch. That's what he's
That's what he's
saying.
saying. So.
Aside from social media,
Okay.
because I feel like that's a weird exception to the rule for me, we have other examples of rejection sensitivity. We have talked about this before, but your echolalia, when you would repeat what I was saying and try to do my voice, and I felt like you were mocking me.
That's rejection sensitivity?
I think that there was an element of that, at least, that was rejection sensitivity.
Okay. Yeah. Can you remind the folks echolalia?
Echolalia is repeating sounds back or saying phrases back. So I do it a lot. Like when you say something and I'm trying to affirm what you've said, or I like what you said, I'd say it back, say the same thing back.
So yeah, that I didn't know how to name until it was this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also a realization that there's a lot of times I don't even know I'm doing it or repeating you. I've made a concerted effort since you had brought it up to me that it bothered you, that I was mocking you, that you felt that way. Because I don't like that. I think there's still times where it slips, because it's just very similarly, you say something and it just tickles the eardrums, and then you go, I wonder if I could do that, or is that a repeatable, or is that was that the last time I'm ever going to hear that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm listening to you say that. For me, the echolalia is triggered by the content of what you are saying. For you, it's triggered by the sound.
Yeah, it's the sound, it's the melody. Yeah. Most of the time that's what I'm feeling is the
sound.
yeah.
So that was one example of, I think there was an element of rejection sensitivity there where I was like, hey, that doesn't feel good because I feel like you're making fun of me and you're supposed to be my person.
I thought we were on the same team. Why are you mocking me?
Why are you doing that?
Are you bullying me? Are you pulling my pigtails?
Are you pulling my pigtails and calling me four eyes? Another thing that really was triggered my rejection sensitivity is being called a crybaby, because I was called a crybaby so much growing up.
Yeah.
That whenever someone makes a comment about like my emotions or how I express them, I get very up in arms about that, because I'm like, I can't help how I'm feeling, you know?
Yeah. How are you helping in that moment?
Yeah.
I also don't like the phrase crybaby, because when a baby is crying,
it's because it needs something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like they may be right, and also
I probably needed something.
Figure out what.
I have a distinct memory of, I used to live in this like neighborhood where there were a lot of unfinished roads and like dirt roads, and when it would rain it would get really muddy in the roads, and I would be outside playing with my friends, and I was the youngest one in my friend group, and I remember like stepping in the mud. I was following behind my friends, and I stepped in the mud, and I went to pull my foot up, and my foot came out of my shoe because my shoe was stuck in the mud. And first of all, being dirty was my nightmare. So the fact that I was shoeless in a mud puddle was already like really alarming to me. And and my shoe was stuck in the mud. I couldn't pull it out. And so I was crying over this shoe being in the mud. And I remember all my friends just like laughing that I got so upset over this. And I also remember my parents being upset that I was so upset. Like they were frustrated with me because I was so upset over this. And like, I'm just thinking about our kids. My immediate response to if something like that happened would be, I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah. And how can I help? Yeah.
Not like,
let's get you cleaned up.
Yeah.
Or eventually asking some questions like, is it you being dirty? Is it the shoe being dirty?
Right. Trying to help them identify where the feeling is coming from.
Yes.
Or even just like waiting.
Oh yeah. Just being there until it's gone.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a deep and sensitive history with the phrase crybaby.
I'm sorry that happened for you.
Thank you. I don't have a lot of memories from my childhood. Like I don't remember a lot from my childhood.
But that one
really stuck with me. Stuck with me like a shoe in the mud. I can laugh about it now.
Where's the laugh?
Okay, there's also work situations. I know you have some rejection sensitivity around work situations.
Yes.
I also have rejection sensitivity around work situations. I experienced it today where I had a call scheduled with a client, and we literally have this call every single Wednesday. And I was sure that on this particular call this week, she was going to drop me. I was like, this is it. This is the day that she fires me. I just know it. I was like messaging Kat, like, I'm really anxious about this meeting. And Kat was like, why? And I was like, I can't afford to lose her as a client. And Kat was like, why do you think that you're going to lose her as a client? It was, yeah. Obviously, she did not drop me. I did not lose her as a client. It was a perfectly normal meeting.
All right.
But that fear overtakes me for a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes it really hard to do anything else.
Yeah. For me, it was this transition from coffee to cars. When I joined as a experience specialist, like that was a fun job.
Yeah.
I was just a hype man.
Yeah.
I was a hype man for the product, and then I was a hype man for the advisors I got to introduce you to.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed just laying the groundwork and teaching people about it all and the process and all that and getting people comfortable. That was dope. And then it was like, this guy knows how to sell. And I'm like, no. And I've heard it time and time again. It's just like, I know you've said it. You could sell ice to a snowman or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's so many people who have said that. And in the moment, transparently, I hate sales. I hate doing all this, who are you? How does this fit in your life? Wearing whatever mask I have to make you feel comfortable in this situation, because this is the second biggest expense you're ever going to have aside from a home, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of it all, I have to be like, so where's your credit card?
You don't
Let's
like,
put down that whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that.
you don't like asking for the sale.
Nope. And they're like, you got to do it every time.
Yeah.
They're here for a reason. They're here in the building for a reason. They set up a drive for a reason. You got to ask for the sale. And I was terrible at asking for the sale, but I always found ways around it.
You sold a lot. You sold a lot of cars.
Sold a lot of cars. But like, I had to get really clever with how I set my customers up and how I set myself up so I could work around that. Bubble guts.
Yeah, because, I mean, people are always like, well, the worst they could say is no. And you're like,
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I'm like, what was the point of me doing this whole thing?
What
and
if
then
they
asking,
say no?
What if they say no? And I'm going to look like a dumbass. Like, but then some people, like, they're super forward and they're like, are you going to ask? Like, okay, I'm ready to buy the car.
can we quit farting around?
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Sorry.
Damned if you do,
Yeah.
damned if you don't. So there's work, there's friend situations.
Oh, that's tough.
I was messaging my friends earlier today in my group chat, and one of them was like, asked me how I was doing, and I was like, oh, I'm in my everybody hates me era. I'm back in my everybody hates me era. Very much in that, like, my assumption is that I've done something wrong and you don't like me.
I waited too long to text you back or to call you back. And, yeah. I'm thinking of, I've got 3 names in my head right now that's what I'm thinking of. And I am terrified that I'm going to reach out and I'm going to hear back, where have you been? Or, no, I'm done, or whatever. So it's just easier to just not.
Yeah, scary.
That's brutal.
It is very,
Because I don't have a lot out here.
yeah.
And so there's a few times where I'm just like, it'd be cool to hang out with you. But that was like however many months ago. And you probably don't like me anymore because I haven't reached out. So yeah, I feel that big.
And it's like that fear, you're doing the rejecting for them.
Yes.
You're self-rejecting so that they can't reject you.
Yeah. It's a protection again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, for the more neurotypical, or maybe you're the other neurodivergent who doesn't have a problem reaching out or what have you. I have a couple people in my life that just reach out no matter what. And they don't talk about how long it's been or why haven't I or any of that. It's as if we've been talking the whole time, and I could cry because it means the world. And yeah, there's a part of me that's like, they're thinking it, but they're not saying it. But that's also okay, because I think I'm old enough now to think like, okay, we both know, and he's just that person for me.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky there. So if you need to hear it from one person to say, just reach out to the person, like, just reach out.
Another frequent comment on the reel was, so what do I do? How do I not be like this anymore? And I think first is accepting that this is part of having ADHD, part of having autism. This is just like something that you have to manage like any other part of that, like any other part. But there are things that I think can help.
Go on.
I think the framing of it as like, these are my first thoughts, but they're not the final thoughts, can be really helpful. Pausing before responding. So when you ask me a question like, did you take your meds? That is one that can feel like there's a lot of subtext to that it could go either way.
Oh, sure.
Like, did you take your meds because you're acting like you didn't? Or did you take your meds because I care about you and I know that your meds are important and that taking them every day is important?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could go either way. But for me, taking that, like, when you say, hey, did you take your meds today? If my immediate feeling is either he's asking me that because he doesn't like how I'm acting, or wow, I really can't take care of myself, I suck, to pause and not let that be the thing that I'm responding to. Rather, let the question be the thing that I'm responding to. Like, did I take my meds today? No, I didn't. I forgot,
Yeah.
if you really can't tell whether a person has some kind of subtext, some kind of context that they're not saying out loud, just asking a clarifying question like, hey, what did you mean by that? Or like, hey, it kind of sounded like you meant this. Is that right? Or
Yeah.
doing kind of a reality check with yourself, like, okay, I'm feeling rejected. Is that real rejection or is it perceived? Like, am I just perceiving this rejection? Or is this even potential rejection that I'm reacting to? If you have a person who knows you really well and who knows your propensity for rejection sensitivity, reaching out to that person and explaining the situation to them and saying, am I overreacting to this? Like, am I...
Yeah, that one's tough because you're still the narrator.
True, so you do have to be like honest about the situation.
Yeah, you got to be as third person about it as possible,
Yeah.
which can be difficult, especially when you're wrapped up in it
Yeah.
in some of these cases. But I agree that still, I think talking it out loud is still very helpful, especially with that trusted person.
Yeah.
Because there's some times where I notice, like, you know what? I'm making the mountain
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
There's also like more long-term strategies like therapy
Oh, sure.
or coaching of some kind, medication, which can help with emotional regulation. I think medication makes a big difference for me because like it makes me more able to pause. I'm not just glom onto that first thought.
In the best way, it's like a layer of defense to be able to see things.
Yeah, a little bit more clearly.
Yeah.
Also, just practicing communication and being honest about the fact that you deal with rejection sensitivity can be helpful. Like earlier in this episode, we had that conversation about like, how can I ask this question differently? And having that like conversation, having that communication, that line of communication open is really important. And then getting into the practice of challenging your own thoughts and saying like, okay, I believe that I am being rejected right now. What is the evidence for that belief?
Okay.
And does that evidence hold up? Again, that takes like a lot of honesty and being able to look at the situation in a more neutral way, which I think the other things like therapy and medication and all that stuff can like help a lot with too. What doesn't help is trying to logic yourself out of the feeling when you're first having it.
Yeah, because reason is not
No.
there.
It's that first initial thing is not something that you can control. So you have to let that wave hit and pass first.
And obviously, your second thought might connect with the first thought. So that's something that, we didn't talk about. But, like, it could still be there.
Right.
And there could be a reason why you feel that way. I think it's just like we're getting over the shock thought.
Right.
And getting into the this is what's happening thought.
Because there may be times when you are actually being rejected.
Yes.
But I still think in those cases, letting that first thought not run the show is still important.
Yeah.
Avoiding all situations where rejection is possible. That's where we get some of that social anxiety overlap. Like if it's gotten to a point where you are so afraid of rejection that you're not leaving the house, that you're not interacting with other people, that you are
not selling cars,
that you're not able to like do your job.
Yes.
Then it's time to think about those longer term strategies and think about like therapy and stuff like that. If you are the partner or the friend or the family member of the person with rejection sensitivity, being direct and clear and being mindful of your tone can be a key way to help because that ambiguity, any kind of like ambiguity is really hard.
Can I mention something that I have struggled with is asking what I have thought is a neutral question and then seeing the reaction as hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then your explanation of like, well, this is why I reacted that way. This is this. And then this is just being married to neurodivergence. Because like I'll take that and I'll go, well, damn, like what did I do that?
Just a rejection sensitivity circle.
Man, I think you're right about being open about communication as well. Like that's that is huge.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes, but yeah.
I think being reassuring can be helpful, but there's also like a limit, I think, to that. Because if you're reassuring me, but I'm not hearing it and I'm not taking it in, there's no amount of reassuring that you can do that's going to like fix that. So
Yeah.
the other person has to be open to the reassurance also. Patience, like not getting frustrated with the person
Sure.
when they're my God,
Going through it.
when they're going through it. I'm going through it. So that's some stuff that can help. The fact of the matter is that constantly needing reassurance can be exhausting to people. Like it can be burdensome to have to constantly reassure someone because they are experiencing rejection sensitivity. It can be tiring.
Right.
So it can be that in that way, it can damage relationships. And it's absolutely something that the person experiencing it has to work on. It's not up to the other person to constantly police their own tone, to constantly adjust how they are asking things and adjusting their behavior. Because the truth is that a lot of times that is neutral to begin with. So there's not really anything to change. And it has to be a two-way street where if I'm asking you to change how you're asking something because it's triggering me, I also need to be examining my triggers and I need to be like figuring out how I can desensitize myself to that.
Sure.
It's a two-way street, I think. There's also the habit of pushing people away before they can leave you. That's very damaging to relationships. And I used to do this again, like preemptively reject myself so that other people cannot reject me.
Right. Don't worry, I did it for you.
Don't worry, you don't have to break up with me. I'm breaking up with you.
Uno reverse. You can keep feeling happy. I'll take all the sad.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
All around. Living in a constant fear of rejection is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like hypervigilance. You're always monitoring.
Always aware of where the next one's going to come in from. Yeah.
You're always like checking people's tone, checking the way that someone is looking at you or...
Yes, I was going to say, even when there is no tone, when you feel like you've picked up on something, just body language,
Yep.
how they're breathing compared to how you think they normally do. Yeah.
And so sometimes that comes out of like a history.
Sure.
I mean, I think a lot of times, most of the time it comes out of a history. Like if you had a parent who you could tell they were angry by the way that they were doing the dishes or something like that, then that's something that trickles down to your adulthood and is going to be something that you are sensitive to in a partner, for example. And if your partner is just loud and they just do things loudly, but your brain interprets that as anger, that's something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
You know?
The way the ADHD brain connects certain things, how we attribute some memories to either physical objects or a sound or something like that. Or a movie, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, well, the last time she listened to this album, she was mad because I did this and we hadn't talked about it until it blew up. And so now it's like, okay, she's listening to that album again. What did I do?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't have to be something even from childhood. It's just something that you have to be aware, like, are you creating this story for yourself? And
Is there an association there?
yes, but have the communication. The assumption can be really difficult on relationships.
Yes. I'm often guilty of assuming intent, assuming emotion. That's something that I'm working on. Allow me to give myself some compassion, though.
Yes.
Because my brain is doing these things to protect me, something that it learned to do, had to do, something that made sense at the time.
Yeah.
Something that I'm getting better at, something that I'm healing from. And healing is not linear.
No.
And that's why I'm currently in my everybody hates me era.
I don't hate you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Your feelings are valid. I get that. You're doing great, Sweaty.
I am a little sweaty. Anyway, to sum up, rejection sensitivity is a real thing. It is not your fault and It is your responsibility to manage. It is possible to learn to distinguish real rejection from perceived rejection, from potential rejection, but it does take time and it is hard.
Practice.
It takes practice, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you can do it.
You can do it, and it's a like, we're all just works in progress, right?
Ooh, that's true.
We're never finished.
We're always 4 out of 5 stars.
If you're finished, you're dead,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Anyway,
14?
yeah. This has been episode 14 of The Cauldron. You can find us on Instagram at The Cauldron Pod or on our website, thecauldronpod.com. And we would love to hear some of your what they said versus what I heard examples. Share your rejection sensitivity experiences. Share your tips.
You're not alone.
You are not alone. And go give my glasses some love on Reels.
I think they look great.
Thanks. Thank you.
I really like the rainbow ones.
I do too.
Yeah. They remind me of...
Those aren't the ones that get hate. It's these. These are just, I feel like these are normal glasses. Haters.
Yep.
They hate me because they ain't me.
And that's how we should go into every day.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. We'll hear you next week.
Yeah, you will.